Well, I didn't expect to have to film a separate intro for this video, but in the editing process, I stumbled across a little bit of a mystery that definitely needs to be cleared up. So, in the video, I basically say, hey, the listing I used to buy this is sold out. If I can find anywhere that this jacket can be bought, I'll link it down below. So I did a little bit of digging to find a listing, and I thought it'd be fairly easy to find some stuff. This jacket, after all, on the inner pocket, says that it is made by Valley Apparel. The tag in the back says the exact same thing. So quick Google search of Valley Apparel M65 jacket, pulls up a lot of things. The original listing, if you will, on the Valley Apparel website, and a whole lot of other stuff as well. Problem is, all those jackets I'm finding don't match this one. They've got a different tag. The cage code doesn't match either. A 1SSG5 for the original, 1SS65 in this one. The only listings I've been able to find for this are the ones I got it from on Sportsman's Guide and a couple posts on eBay that have this jacket for sale. So, the question is, what's up with this jacket? Is it just a different pattern? Is it different production time frame? Is it a knockoff? I don't know. I do not know. I've not been able to find anything sort of definitive on this, but it is something that could be an issue. And throughout the video, I refer to this as the Valley Apparel M65 reproduction. And I just wanted to make it very clear that at this point, I do not know if that's actually the case. It probably is. I certainly hope it is, but I can't definitively say so. And I wanted to clear that up because I don't want to be out here saying something is one thing when in actuality it's the other thing. If I end up finding an answer to this, there'll be a pinned comment down below explaining what the actual truth in this scenario is. But yeah, that was something that was very important for me to make clear. Anyways, it's jacket review time, so I will let y'all hop into the original recording session. Well, this is a video that has taken, frankly, way too long to get out. I filmed this, about 2 months ago, I want to say. And unfortunately, it did not come out well. There's bad audio quality, which, frankly, we're filming outdoors. It's not going to be great, but I knew I could do a bit better, at least. And honestly, the visuals were just not great either. So I took some time, waited for a good day, which has finally rolled around, because bit of a video making lesson for y'all. Filming a video outdoors in the middle of winter, it can be difficult to find one that's actually comfortable to film. Hard to find a day where you can actually do that. But that day has finally rolled around. I'm finally ready. So, this is exciting. It is finally here. Now, I had hoped to have a proper natural background, but that was angled just right off that way, which is exactly where the sun's pointed at. So, not great. So we're stuck with the house in the background, unfortunately. But, going into this video, I do need to give a disclaimer. Of course, y'all have seen the title, you know I'm reviewing this jacket. But, this is, I'll have to double check as I'm editing this, but unless things have changed very recently, this jacket is no longer available to buy anywhere at the time of filming, so this is not a thing that's necessarily useful. But if you've stumbled across this jacket somewhere, if it's back in stock and you want to see if it's good, here are my thoughts on it. But, I'm Luna, this is Lunatic History, and today we are reviewing the Valley Apparel M65 reproduction.
Let's bury the hatchet, let's bury the hatchet, let's bury the hatchet in the Kaiser's head. We'll crown him on the noodle, make him whistle Yankee Doodle, shouting the battle cry of Wilson.
So I really have two criteria I'm looking at with this. Is this a good reproduction, and is this a good jacket? Because honestly, this functions under those criteria very differently, right? Like, a good jacket is a good jacket, but it might not be a good reproduction, right? And many a jacket is like that because it's not a reproduction, but this one, I'll go ahead and say I think it functions as a good jacket. As a reproduction, it becomes a lot more complicated. So let's hop into that sort of element of this first. Is this a good reproduction? And I'm going to go ahead and give my answer for that. No. It's not necessarily a bad reproduction, but it has some pretty major flaws, alright? So right off the bat, you may be able to notice a difference in color. This is slightly darker than the original. Perhaps there's some fading going on, right? I'd be foolish to say that that's not something that takes place. After all, this jacket is quite old, but this is a much darker jacket, something that will be noticeable. And frankly, when compared to a lot of the other issues that I honestly think are bigger issues in terms of accuracy, while this one isn't as bad, it is a lot more immediately noticeable, especially like if you're doing Vietnam War reenactment and you're using this thing and you're up against a bunch of people with an original, the difference can be seen. But that is something to note. The color is just slightly different. The reproduction, slightly darker than the original. Not too bad, I'm sure. There's some kind of, I don't know, bleaching effect or something that can be done to get this close to the original. But that is something that is worth noting. The second difference, and frankly the one I would say is the worst in terms of accuracy, is with the pockets. Obviously you can't really tell too easily with them as it is here, but I'll edit in some B-roll footage. There is not a major size difference on this scale, and for what it's trying to be, it is a major size difference. It is something that from afar would not be noticed, of course, which is fortunate, right? Honestly, reenactments, to the best of my understanding, I am of course not a reenactor myself, to the best of my understanding, tend to be viewed from afar, so it's not an issue that it will be too relevant for the audience, but certainly something that other reenactors will notice, and certainly something that needs to be brought up when talking about the issues with this. And this is, both the upper and lower pockets have this size difference. Again, it's not a major size difference, but on the scale, it is a major size difference, if that makes any sense. Then we have two smaller differences that need to be pointed out. The first is in the buttons. It's just slightly different. It's something that isn't really too important. I mean, functionally they're the same. It's not like it's different button placements, and again, something that no one would notice, but they are different. It does need to be noted. I'll play devil's advocate here. I imagine that the buttons on this, a bit hard to find. These ones more readily produced. These ones, like I said, they're functionally the same, and it's not like a big difference that it's like, oh no, this ruins it. But it, again, does need to be mentioned that it is different, not even different button style, just different buttons. And then the final one, frankly the one that is going to be least noticeable, is the hood. This hood, I'll talk about it more in depth in the jacket review, but this hood is fairly, this hood is, in the reproduction, it's a bit heavier, it's a bit thicker, and has a different sort of attachment to the base, just a slight one, and just a slight different sort of drawstring on it. So it's something that, when worn, isn't going to be too noticeable, but there are differences. I'd say really the differences are more sort of in the way you wear the jacket than the actual appearance. And again, for most reenactment, honestly, it's not something that's going to show up unless you're out in the rain, really. But again, does need to be noticed. Aside from that, those issues, the general fit, the general weight, honestly the material, very similar. It feels very similar material-wise. Weight is very close. I think the fit on this one, the original, is slightly less awkward, but it's pretty close in that. And in general style, they're very close as well. It's just this one has enough differences, including enough differences that are like actually noticeable, that I can't go and call it a good reproduction. Now, the second question, is it a good jacket? And to that, I would say, yeah, I quite like this as a jacket. It's a cheap jacket, sure, it is undoubtedly that. I think this was like originally about $100. I got it on clearance for like 40 something, which is about what it's worth. When not too long ago, after maybe like 6 or so washes, one of the buttons, like sort of a spare button, actually fell off of this. So, not great. I'd say that's a pretty good testament towards the quality of it. But it's not a bad jacket, alright? It is a cheap jacket, but it's not one that feels like it's falling apart or anything like that. The only bits of actual damage I've seen outside of the button, which honestly was just loosely attached, is, if I can find it, the zipper. I don't know if this is showing up, but again, B-roll footage. The zipper is, unfortunately, one of the little sides of the little string on it got caught in the Velcro up here. I hit the mic, I'm sorry. It got caught in the Velcro and got kind of just torn up. And then in the hood, the zipper where the hood is stowed away, that has some strings coming loose as well. Neither of those things feel like they're in any danger of falling apart, anything like that, but it is an issue with them. But that's really the only, well, one of only two big complaints I have. Everything else, like, I'd say this is a better jacket, right? I think the fit is slightly better, I think the color is better, but on the whole, they're very similar. If you like the original M65, you probably will like this jacket. Size-wise, they're very close. Functionally, they're very close. There is just one difference I need to talk about that makes me have some issues with this jacket, and that's the hood. The hood in the original is a very light hood. It's a very comfortable hood. It's, frankly, a very thin hood, but one that is very protective. This one is just as protective, I should say. But when worn, you can feel a difference. This one is a little heavier, but it's not too bad, right? It's something that, you know, it's raining, you don't want to get wet, you're not going to complain too much, and it's not uncomfortable by any means, just a little thicker and a little heavier. But when stowed away, it's a very different matter. This one, it's so thin that when it stows away, it does so very easily, and is very comfortable. In this jacket, the hood oftentimes bunches up, and it gets kind of stuck that way, and just does not like to get out of that position. So there's just this annoying sort of lump in the back of the jacket that, I mean, you can feel walking around, but if you're sitting down while wearing this, you will feel that digging into your back, and it is so annoying. My one complaint about this is there is good reason that oftentimes after it rains and I have to take the hood out, I'll just leave the hood out and just not have it on, because it's a pain to get it back into a comfortable position inside the jacket, and I really have not figured out a trick for that. I'm sure there is one, but no, I shove it in there, I bunch it up as tight as I can, I loosen it as much as I can, I move it every which way, and it does not work. It just feels uncomfortable. And that's really the one properly bad thing about this jacket. Most of the things are just, oh, the original did it slightly better. That is the only thing where, no, this jacket actually falls flat. But fortunately, outside of that one issue, this is a nice little jacket. I personally got this one because, while I have no problem wearing an original M65 around, I wanted to put some patches on this, which I am going to do eventually. I just need to actually make myself go and do it, but, you know, I didn't want to do that to an original and ruin it, in a sense. But if you want to get just like a decent sort of outdoors jacket and you're able to get this one, I would recommend it. It's a comfortable jacket, it looks pretty nice, I've really enjoyed this one. And it really just has that one, but when it comes to a reproduction or for reenactment, I do know that Alpha Industries, I believe it's Alpha Industries, if I'm wrong, I will of course edit it on screen, but we'll have to forgive my dog, he thinks he's protecting us, and he's just annoying the neighbors. What was I saying? Alpha Industries, they do have a reproduction. He's hacking up a lung over there. They do have a reproduction M65, along with what they call the sort of the, it's like M65 mod, essentially a modernized one, a more contemporary fit. They do seem to be very high quality, and the Heritage one, which is their proper reproduction, does seem to be very close to the original. But, you know, I don't have one of those to be able to talk about that. What I will say is if you're wanting to do reenactment, or you want to have like a Vietnam kit for like display or whatever, just go for an original. I think this one was about $80 or so. I tend to see from roughly $80 to $120, with some on the cheap, some even cheaper than that, some unfortunately much more expensive than that. But without too much trouble, you can find an original in decent condition for a pretty good price, and they're not that uncommon. Oftentimes they will work perfectly for reenactment and display and things like that. So just find yourself an original. This one, I mean, obviously right now you can't get this one, so it doesn't matter, but as a reproduction, this really does fail. You know, it works. If it's your only option, you know, you can use it, and it as far as I'm concerned, it'll be fine. But if you have the sort of time to track down a good original and you want to get like a really accurate kit, then I very much say go for an original. It is worth what may be a bit of extra cost in the end. Yeah, well, right now, as I've said a couple times, this of course can't be bought, so this isn't really too relevant for now. I just wanted to get my thoughts on this out. But hopefully, someday in the future, this helps someone out, right? Maybe it won't. Maybe this will never be made again. But if this helps someone out, they stumble across this somewhere and want to know if it's any good, then hopefully they can use what I've had to say on it to good effect. But I really have no more thoughts on this jacket. No more points I wanted to make about it. Just to reiterate, the original in every aspect is better, I would say. As sort of a historical jacket, the original far better. As just a jacket, they're pretty even. Yeah, if y'all liked what you saw, I have some more content already. I've got more content on the way as well. It's history, it's militaria, it's collecting, so on and so forth. Subscribe if you want to see some more stuff. Comment down below. Do you have this jacket? Do you have the Alpha Industries one? Share your thoughts on either of those. Maybe I got something wrong in this. Let me know about that. In the description, there's a link to my Discord server, so you can check out the community, join in on that. There's also a link to my Twitter and my Instagram account where I post a lot of history stuff. So if you wanted to take a good look at like the collection I have, that's your place to go to. There's also my link tree, which has all my other stuff in it. But yeah, like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more content, and until next time, I'll be seeing you.